You are listening to CrossTalk, a safe place to discuss addiction, recovery, harm reduction, and everything in between. Support for this podcast comes from the Kentucky Opioid Response Effort and Advocates of Recovery. Content and production by the team at CenterPoint Recovery Community Center. Now, buckle up and get ready for the show.
Welcome everyone to CrossTalk Recovery, the recovery podcast that supports all forms of recovery. I'm Matt Lewis, and with me today is Sam Peterson.
I'm Max Grantham.
Hey Max, how you doing today?
I'm doing really good, thank you.
Max, otherwise known as the Angel of CenterPoint. Isn't that you, right?
I don't know about that. I am the site administrator of CenterPoint Recovery Center for Men. More importantly, I'm a person in long-term recovery. For me, that means that I haven't had a drink or used illicit drugs since January 23rd of 2010.
Awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. I know that when I got to CenterPoint, I really looked up to you, Max, as someone that I could relate to. You know, I think that's an important part of the Kentucky Recovery Program is the peer support thing, that having people that you have been where you've been, that you can look up to and relate to, you know, and that just helped me to stay connected and be like, okay, if this guy has been where I've been and can do this, then it's possible for me to do it too. You know? Absolutely.
There's a lot to be said for lived experience. You know, yeah. I was in the throes of addiction for about 38 years. You know, I battled it in and out and got in all kinds of trouble and wound up at CenterPoint. I'm a product of that program myself. When I showed up at the front steps of CenterPoint, I was in a prison uniform with shackles on the hands and feet because the DOC had transported me there, and I had 22 and a half years over my head. And recovery's been so good to me, you know. It's and it's not so much as the abstinence and the staying away from drugs, but a change in the way of life, you know, a lifestyle.
You were a special case at CenterPoint, right?
I was.
Yeah. Most of the time, the guys get to leave, go to outside meetings, that kind of thing. That you weren't that type of guy, though, right?
No, the judge that he put a "don't take your eyes off of him" order on me, so I kind of had to stay there all the time. I could go to meetings, so I did get a lot of meetings, but but I think it was good for me. You know, I don't think it hurt me at all. And I completed the program. By the way, only had 2 issues coming through the whole thing. Both of them were signing out.
Got me
issues,
beat.
So,
well, I actually made it this time without any.
You go, bud.
The key word awesome. There is this time.
Correct. I have been there. I was a two-time CenterPoint graduate.
Hey, it takes what it takes, don't it?
It does.
Yeah, but I stayed on as a peer mentor, and I'd done that for a little while. And an interesting, you know, I was struggling with whether to do the peer mentor thing or not. And this is how I was asking for a sign, you know, and I was in the library, and a good friend we all three know, he walked in the library and he had a shirt on that said "Passion over Profit," and I took that as a sign to stay and do the peer mentor thing. It was the best decision I'd ever made. I did the peer mentor thing. I got a job as a caseworker. I did that for a little while. I got a job as an office clerk. I was the ugliest secretary in Kentucky.
That's an understatement, I think.
That's what I done. And then I got a job as the office manager. I was that for a number of years, and then I got offered the job as a Phase 2 coordinator. And I did that for a number of years, and I loved it. And I got offered this job recently, about a year ago or so, and I loved it. I love recovery. I love helping the guys. I love being around them. I like the Earthlings, but they bore me. These guys light me up like a Christmas tree. You know, I see myself in them all the time. They're just a lot of fun to be around, you know.
Like Matt, when I went through CenterPoint both times, you always had a way of relating to guys, to us, that I understood. And when I saw the type of, you know, I always said, if recovery's not fun, I'll just stay using and be miserable. But
absolutely,
many times when I saw Max, I was like, you know, this guy seems like he's he's doing all right and having a pretty good time with being sober. And you were very influential and still am to my own recovery. And I feel like I needed to say that. We're really great to have you out here today.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it. And I do. I think any of us can get sober for a little while. But, if we can learn to be okay with being sober, I think that's what helps us.
Yeah.
That's where it started to click for me. I look back on my life and I think about, I don't know about y'all, but early in recovery, I thought, man, this is going to suck.
Right.
You know what I mean? This is going to be terrible. But I can look back in my life and I can see things that sucked a lot worse than recovery to me. Like, I'll give you like 3 scenarios. I was upside down in a Jeep with a seatbelt on. And I was so drunk I couldn't get the seat belt off. And I smelled gas, and I swore it was about to burst into flames any moment.
That's a horrible feeling.
Yeah. Another one was I was chained to a table in an orange jumpsuit with several people sitting around in suits and ties talking about me. Because I found something out in recovery that there came a point in my life when everyone stopped talking to me and started talking about me.
That's never a good thing when they're talking about you.
And you're going to go out and you're going to stand in front of a judge, and you know that no scenario ends and you going home that night. Mm-hmm. And that sucks a lot worse than recovery. And the last one I'll share with you guys is I don't know about y'all, but I had a pretty bad habit, and I was a carpet comber. I don't know. Very few men want to admit to being a carpet comber, but that's where you smoked a lot of dope in that recliner, and you're thinking, you know what, I probably dropped some. And you're digging around, and you finally found a piece, and you put it in your pipe, and you realize you're smoking a toenail.
That's a great
That's
time.
worse than recovery.
Yeah.
Than recovery. And I know people out there that can relate to that and smoke popcorn and everything else,
Oh, yeah. I definitely relate to that. You used to tell that story all the time. You did a thing called Toolbox Tuesday where you teach class every Tuesday, and there's some other stories in there, and you do a little dance, and it was you made it fun, and,
Right.
I got to see it, I don't know, countless times while I was in there. The first few times I loved it, and then it got old, but then towards the end, I liked it again, and now I miss it. We'll be right back.
Did you know that recovery from substance use disorder and mental health go hand in hand? That is why the caring and compassionate mental health professionals at Four Rivers Behavioral Health in Paducah are here to help you find your balance. They are proud of you for making the changes necessary to live a healthier life and would love to see you reach your full potential. Give them a call at 270-442-7121 or stop by the downtown location at 425 Broadway in Paducah, Kentucky.
Speaking of CenterPoint, CenterPoint is a recovery Kentucky program, and I know we're all going to be a little biased when we come talk about how great it is, but CenterPoint's a great thing. But Max has since he's moved up in the world. Tell us a little bit about CenterPoint and what makes it special.
Well, I think one thing that helps CenterPoint is my predecessor, the person that was the site administrator before me. She had a social worker's background. And I'm not saying that one way is better or one way is worse, but a lot of the centers are run by people who have a Department of Corrections background. And I think because she had that social worker's background, there was a lot more emphasis on respect and kindness. And I believe that's one thing that makes CenterPoint a little bit unique. But all the centers, man, I can't say enough good things about Recovery Kentucky. It's hard to believe that Kentucky has something like that that's cutting edge of recovery, but it's really a great thing. All the centers are.
How many centers? Do you know how many centers there are now?
I think we have 18 now.
Man, that's awesome.
Yeah. 9 women's and 9 men, I believe, at last count. I'm thinking that's right. Yeah.
Of course, I'm beneficial. I'm always going to think CenterPoint's the best one because it's the one I went through, but twice, right? Which I was grateful they let me back a second time. But I know it changed my life. And one of the things I really love today is getting to go back and sponsor guys there and to still be a part of CenterPoint even after you graduate. I think that's so important. And I love how y'all let alumni come back and do things. And I think that's really special in that program.
Oh yeah, I love that. I love that about it too. You know, we got a picnic coming up in September, which is the 10th one we'll have, the alumni picnic, and the last one we had pre-COVID, there was close to 600 people there, so it's a big gathering, and a lot of them are alumni from CenterPoint, and I really love to see everybody come back, you know, and share their experiences and just have fun, you know.
It's amazing that Four Rivers trusts so many of us once we've went through that program. If you actually go around the Four Rivers building like I do sometimes, I know a lot of the guys from recovery now work here. You know, they get us sober and then employ us. It's pretty awesome.
I think that's I think that's one thing that makes Four Rivers special is they give people like us a chance. You know, I know they certainly gave me a chance. You know, they've done a lot for me. You know, I like to say I worked my way up through this thing, and they kind of took a chance on me, and it's really paid off for me, and I hope for them. You know, I hope I do a pretty decent job. It's hard to say, so I think I'll get to come back tomorrow, so that's all right.
That's good. Yeah, CenterPoint's the only recovery center I've been through, but I know that like walking in there and just feeling the love, you know, immediately accepted by everybody in there. And you know, I've heard it's kind of like that in a lot of them in Kentucky, but I've only had that experience, and you know, it means a lot to me to you know, where I came from. I was in the pits of despair, didn't even want to be alive when I got to CenterPoint, you know, and was half dead. And to walk in there and see that there were other people trying to do something different, like you said, I thought sobriety was gonna suck, and you know, I would have no fun and no friends because everyone I knew was getting high, you know. But to see that there were people trying to change their lives for the better, and that had been where I'd been, and people who were relatable, like yourself, that it was like it made it special, you know.
Sure. I think anyone that winds up in a recovery Kentucky center anywhere in the state has won the lottery. They're all great centers, you know. And I'm kind of like you. I'm partial to CenterPoint because it's the one I went through and it's the one I know. But I think that the whole program is just it's amazing that they do so much for people that have substance use disorder. It really is.
And CenterPoint is rare in the case that y'all have a lot of guys with co-occurring disorders as well.
We do. We have a lot of people with mental health issues, and it's you know, it kind of goes hand in hand. You know, I think, and everyone needs help. You know,
I don't. For me personally, going through CenterPoint, the second time was not as fun as the first, but it was of course COVID lockdown and all those things. The building just recently opened back up. Is it good to be back to business as usual?
It is so good to be back to our regular program. You know, COVID was very difficult on us. We had lockdowns. I shouldn't really call it lockdowns. I guess it was more of an isolation and quarantining kind of thing. But we couldn't leave the building. There was a lot of things that the guys missed out on, and I think as the dust clears on this, we're going to find out that it's really been a struggle everywhere for people with substance use disorder. You know, I really do.
I know. I'm really glad that the world is somewhat getting back to normal and meetings are happening the way they used to. I know we're getting ready to do a recovery hike, and we've got our holiday world trip planned.
Looking forward to those.
It's good to be back in the swing of normal, what I like to call normal recovery, which is
I hear you.
Including fun, meetings, being around people, seeing the CenterPoint guys get out at the meetings is great, and it's a blessing. I think that I find gratitude in it after after the fact.
Sure. For me, meetings are very important for my recovery. And it got to a point there where we couldn't even find meetings. There were virtual meetings, and that was about it. And I'm not knocking them, but it just wasn't my thing. I like in-person meeting, and I'm glad to see us getting back to that, and I think that's so important for my type of recovery. Everyone has a different path to recovery, and that's all. I love that. But for me personally, the meetings and sponsorship, that's what I need to do, and I still do the same thing today that I did coming through CenterPoint, and so far it's worked. It's worked very well for me.
I know that when I come through, some guys are like, you're going to leave here, you won't be around any of these guys anymore. But most of my friends, especially close friends, are alumni CenterPoint or from the rooms of meetings.
Yeah.
That's who my friends are today. So I found in rehab that the guys I went through with are still the guys I'm hanging out with.
I know. I always hate it when people say you came in here alone, you're gonna leave alone. I don't find that to be true at all. I've made great friends in there, and not all of them succeed in sobriety, but they're still friends who I care for and I try to be there for. Hope they make it back. But like I said, me and Sam are great friends. Max, I have a lot of respect for you. Consider you a friend. All the people I have a lot of brothers and sisters now, now that I'm out of there. Like it was locked down or in quarantine the whole time that I was there, which I think was good for me from being from around here to not have any kind of temptations,
Yeah,
I understand that it's an important part of them to be able to get out and get involved in the recovery community and meet people and get used to going to those outside meetings and stuff like that.
Sure, you got to test the waters at some point, I think. But I don't know about y'all, but for me, when I got into recovery, I realized that there's a whole different world out there.
Absolutely.
That I knew nothing about.
Yeah.
Because I surrounded myself with like-minded people. If you weren't using, you didn't pull up in my driveway before recovery, and I had no idea that there's a large group of people in recovery that are, that are good people and awesome friends, I'm like Sam was saying, about every friend I have is in recovery,
Hope is the big thing CenterPoint brought to me. I never thought I could get sober. I didn't believe that people really were sober. I thought everybody was getting messed up on something. And if they were saying they were sober and clean, they were just lying about it, because that's what I did. But getting to CenterPoint gave me hope that I could actually stop using and that I could live a certain way. And I seen guys that were doing the deal with the alumni coming back and the picnics and all the great stuff that happens. That's where that hope came from for me. I still didn't get it right away. It still took me a couple more chances down the road, but that's the whole beauty of the whole program. And I think all the Recovery Kentucky centers is that you actually see it. When I see it, I believe it. Faith is still
tangible evidence.
I didn't have faith before I got into a program, so if I didn't see it, I didn't believe it. And I was like everybody I surrounded myself were people who were in active addiction. That's what I saw every day. So of course I believed that everybody was getting messed up.
Right.
It's a totally different lifestyle, and for me, it's kind of a two-edged sword. Of my behavior and my use, they're tied together. If I start that shady behavior that I always done, I'll have a return to use, and if I have a return to use, I'll start that shady behavior that I always done. Yeah. So it's actually, the book talks about it being a design for living, and that's exactly what it is.
Yes,
That's what it is for me. It's changed the way I think. Most importantly, probably about myself, and it's changed the way I think about you guys and other people. It's changed the way I think about my family, and I find gratitude in nearly everything now,
I found that I always thought I did bad things because of drugs and alcohol. I've realized that was not the case. I did drugs and alcohol because I was doing a bunch of wrong stuff. It was the symptom, not the disease.
Right.
Once I realized that I was the problem, which is one of the biggest things that CenterPoint taught me, was that
Sure.
I was the problem. Then it became about that living a better life, being a better person, kindness, patience, love, tolerance, all those things that I had never been before. I always wanted what I want when I wanted it right then. And it was learning that through recovery that it's made my life so much better. That I couldn't imagine when I got into recovery how much better my life could be than what it was. I just couldn't see it. And every day it gets a little bit better. And I owe CenterPoint for all that, and AA and God, of course.
And I think it helps us. I don't know about y'all, but I never learned how to deal with my emotions or anything. Because when I was growing up, and after I got to early adulthood, if I had a good emotion, I enhanced it with drugs and alcohol. If I had a bad emotion, I suppressed it with drugs and alcohol.
Right.
So not only did I stay messed up all the time, I really never learned how to deal with any emotions, I didn't even realize I had any. I mean, I spent most of my life, I had two emotions, hungry or horny, that was the two that I had, So this is, it's helped me deal with my emotions, and I have compassion and empathy now that sometimes it's a good thing, sometimes it's not. I've found that I'm a pretty sensitive guy, and I never knew that. I mean, when Batman beat Superman up, I started crying, I tear up every time a dollar store opens up. You know what I mean?
Speaking of emotions, it is amazing to me how many more emotions I feel has, and that stuff that I will cry at some weird stuff nowadays. I'll still try to hide it where nobody sees me because I still deal with that. But something on TV can jerk me every once in a while. I'm like, you're just when did you turn into such an emotional wreck that TV can set you off? But that's funny you said that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I broke out in tears the other day riding my bike for it's been winter. I haven't had a chance to do it. And I got out there on a nice day riding towards downtown with the sun coming up. I had my music in, and I just started crying. I was like, because I've missed this, stuff like that I would never have appreciated before, and I would have never told anybody if I had done it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Well, I know for Max in particular, and you too, Matt, where I grew up, I was taught men don't cry or have feelings, and you're from
absolutely.
Where were you? Where did you grow up?
Ballard County, Kentucky, in the river bottom.
That's what I thought. Yeah. I'm guessing that you probably weren't taught that guys feel emotions.
No, none of that. I had a stepdad that you didn't do that.
So, I'll give you something to cry about.
Yeah, exactly. I heard that a lot.
So what I found in recovery is that all that stuff is okay. And you know what? The feelings I have today, I cherish them. I'm not trying to cover them up. Even the bad ones. If I'm feeling bad about something, it's usually because I need to change something or just because I actually care about people today. I found that grief and having bad feelings is just as acceptable as having good feelings. Because like Max, if I was having good feelings, I felt like I needed to enhance them. And if I was having bad feelings, well, I felt like I needed to shut them away in a deep, dark place and cover them up with booze and whatever other substance I could get my hands on.
Yeah. And I think a lot of that comes with the honesty part of the program, or it did for me. Once I figured out, I could always be about half honest with everyone else, but once I figured out how to be honest with myself, and that made a big difference in the way I approach things, and it changed things so much, that honesty part of it, and because I had to learn that. I'd spent a long time being dishonest, and I was good at it, and I had to learn how to be honest, and especially honest with myself,
I don't know about you, but my dishonesty started at a very early age.
Yeah.
Way before that first drink or that first drug.
I understand.
Once you realize you can get out of something by telling a little lie, then you're like, wait a minute. Even as a little kid, you're like, you remember that,
I've heard some people say, well, alcoholism, you have it for life. I don't know, but I know, like kindergarten, I sure could have used a drink that day. You know what I mean?
I have a buddy in recovery, and me and him were in the same kindergarten class. One time he told me, he said, we should have known we were going to be alcoholics from the get-go. He said, was bigger than everybody in the class, and I'm just bawling first day of kindergarten, and you showed up in your Spider-Man pajamas where your mom couldn't get you into real clothes. So he said there was probably the two first early warning signs that we were going to be in recovery.
I hear you. That second grade, I crawled out the window and went home. We lived pretty close to the school, so I decided this wasn't for me. I'm leaving. So that might have been
Quit school in second grade.
Yeah. Well, I gotta go.
My grandpa would always tell a story that he, when my sister was being born, he'd show up we went to McDonald's and he had his arms full of like burgers for everybody that was at the hospital, and he looked at me and he saw in my eyes I was about to take off running because I realized that he couldn't do nothing. He had a bunch of stuff and I just took off running. He had to throw all the burgers down and chase after me.
That's the signs.
Yeah, we'll be right back.
Hey y'all, did you know it's illegal to own just one guinea pig in Switzerland because they get lonely? Here at Turning Point, we don't want you to ever be lonely either. That's why we are open 7 days a week from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Always feel free to come hang with our friendly staff, and don't forget your guinea pig. We're located at 415 Broadway Street, downtown Paducah.
If we only knew then what we know now. But
I'm not sure I would change anything because I really like, I hear people say, I'm glad I'm an alcoholic. I don't know about that, but I'm glad that I found a solution for my alcoholism and addiction. You know what I mean?
I'm just glad that I can use all that stuff now. It wasn't for nothing, that I can use it now to try and help the next alcoholic and addict.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
That's what it's all about.
I was talking to Miss Thelma the other day about my past and how I wouldn't change anything, even the stuff that I'm not proud of, because it made me who I was today. And, what I get to do today is help people. And there's no bigger blessing, I don't think, in the world than to be able to help another person, whether they're alcoholic or just need a helping hand. It's a wonderful way to live, because I looked at the world for so long as only what I could take from it.
Absolutely. I agree. And I've had countless jobs, but once I got involved in recovery, and it was by accident, I certainly didn't plan this. I mean, if someone would have told me 15 years ago that, hey, you know what, you're going to be running a treatment center someday, I would have said, well, you're crazy. This ain't going to happen. But the one thing is, I've had countless jobs, but I really feel like, I have a purpose now. And I don't ever get up and think, oh, Lord, I got to go to work, I get up with that purpose in mind, and I have the opportunity to help another person that's been through what I've been through or similar situations, and that's a blessing for me. It really is.
Yeah.
I think one of the biggest blessings about working at CenterPoint, of course, we were all peer mentors there, so we've all worked there in some extent or another, is just watching it when that light bulb turns on.
Yeah.
Knowing that aha moment when the head comes out of the
right.
Just, man, I see the light, and that is awesome to be able to watch in people if something doesn't fill up your spirit, that doesn't fill up your spiritual bank, I don't know what will.
I'll tell you, that class that Matt was talking about that I taught so many times, I used to love to just watch out and kind of look out through the crowd. And like you say, I could see it when, they get it. He gets it, he gets it. I love that about it, man. I hope everybody can find a way out of it. Substance use disorder, it's a hard thing, or it was for me. Like I say, I'm an instant success after 38 years of trying. It wasn't something that came overnight for me.
I think my biggest worry with substance use disorder today is fentanyl. It's just taking guys so early on in life, and it's. You have to get started in recovery of some kind almost earlier, because the guys don't make it to my age anymore with the substances that are out there. They're dying way earlier, and it's just really scary. I think it's a scary time for recovery, not just because 18 and 19-year-olds are taking pills that are supposed to be this, and they're just loaded up with fentanyl. And
it is. Man, it's tragic for sure. It's changed the scope of addiction. Fentanyl is, like you say, that's why I think any path to recovery is good. I'm all for any way anyone can get recovery, because at this point, it's like Sam was saying. You never know when you're going to take something, and it's the last time you take something, and that's just tragic. I know y'all seen the board, the memorial board there at CenterPoint, and I know every person up there. I've been doing this long enough that I know every single person up there, and it's heartbreaking. It really is, and it's taking people every day. And there again, I think when the dust settles from this COVID, it's going to be numbers are going to be increasing.
I know when the building was locked down there for a while, it just seemed like we were hanging a new picture almost every week there for a while, and it was just it's heartbreaking. But one of the guys that's on there always said, you're going to carry the message one way or another, either with your actions or when you pass away. And I really, it's one big motivator for me to stay sober is I don't want to end up on the memorial board back there.
Sure.
Yeah. I had a friend that was on that wall when I got in there that I went to high school with, who I didn't even know had passed or had been to that treatment center until I got in there. And while I was in there, his older brother, who I was friends with, who had been sober for 7 years, went back out and used once and passed away. And, it messed with me for a while because I was early in the program, but I was able to find a way to use that as fuel, as that I have to stick to doing this every day, that I can't slack up on it. Whether you have 7 years or 20 years, whatever it is, you have to stay vigilant and work this program every day.
Sure. And I don't know about y'all, but that really motivates me to reach people, to try. I'll go the extra mile. I'll try, I'll get that person in the second, third, fourth time, because I'm cognitive of fentanyl, and I know what it's doing. And, like Sam was saying, it's disguised. You might think you're taking something and it be fentanyl, and that's the last time you take anything,
Yeah.
And it's just tragic, really is.
I think you get people into treatment as many times as they're willing to go. That's my personal belief, because it happened, once for you. I've been to 3. I think Sarah said she's been to 20-something. Yeah. So who's to say which one is going to work? But the fact of the matter is, if I'm sitting in a treatment center, I'm learning good things no matter what. And 2, I'm at less risk of dying because, like we said, fentanyl they're finding it in everything, which is why I love that Narcan distribution is so important today. I think everybody should have a box of Narcan, whether they're dealing with somebody in addiction or not, because you never know when you're going to be the guy or girl that walks up on somebody at the park or in a car. And it's just a life-saving drug. So
I keep it in my truck. I keep Narcan in my truck. I keep it, we have it at the center. We've had occasion to use it not on one of our guys, but a young lady brought someone up there, and we had an occasion to use it then. So it's prevalent, I like that, and I wish there was some way to know how many lives have been saved with Narcan. Wouldn't that be awesome if we had some kind of number? Because there's really no way to know. Not that I know of. I don't think anyone's kept statistics on that, but it's bound to be thousands and thousands of lives,
I'm sure,
that have been saved because of Narcan,
Yeah.
Have you ever had it used on you, Matt?
No, like I said, I'm older. I was just dumped in a bathtub with a bunch of ice a couple times. I overdosed.
Old school.
Yeah.
I hear you.
But it is a blessing because I know of several people whose lives it has saved, and you're right, it would be awesome to know that, but the important thing is that it is saving lives.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It is. It's working.
Yeah.
And I thank God for it. It's a godsend for real, because sometimes the bathtub full of ice worked and sometimes it didn't.
Yeah, right.
Thank God we have Narcan.
You don't have to get somebody push you out of the car at the hospital, or any of those instances that happen.
Right. Well, Max, I appreciate you coming by today to talk about all this stuff with us. I want to remind everybody to like and share, that we are also also available on audio versions on everything, Google, Apple, Spotify, Podbean, all that stuff. So, click the link in the description, I think is what Brandon said to say.
Yes,
something like that. And all right, man, pleasure.
Hey, thank y'all. I appreciate y'all having me, man. It's good talking with y'all anytime.
Thanks for coming out, Max.
Love you guys.
Love
Stay
you too,
grateful.
buddy.
Bye-bye.
If you or someone you know is struggling with addiction or in recovery and needs guidance, speak with Turning Point's team of peer support specialists by calling 270-444-3621. You are not alone, and we are proof that recovery is possible.